For everyone that is tuning in today, thank you for joining this stream. Today we are going to be discussing all of the different progress and milestones that Shade Protocol has achieved over the past month of June. We're going to be looking forward a little bit into the future, talking about what's going to be coming up in the near term, everything from product integrations, expansions. And then we're also going to be highlighting some of the ongoing proposals and discussions that affect some of these recent product launches, such as staking. So for this space, we'll kick it off with going over some of our ecosystem highlights over the past month. These are going to primarily cover product launches that were recently launched, UI UX improvements that we've seen, and then some of the recent milestones achieved with product launches over the past 2.5 months. So to kind of kick this off, if you're watching this now, hopefully you're already aware of the recent product launches for Shade Protocol, namely the launch of the final portion of the Shade airdrop, and then also the subsequent release of Shade staking. And so these are two huge pieces of the Shade Protocol puzzle that we are extremely excited to finally be able to put out in the public. I know the public has been waiting and just as excited as the Shade Protocol team to actually get this out there for everyone. And staking in particular is a very integral part to making this cohesive, interconnected system of applications that all drive revenue back to this one token, which is the Shade token. Shade staking actually helps bring that to life, and so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But like I mentioned, with the launch of staking came the final part of the Shade airdrop. We saw the last 70% of the Shade airdrop that was originally distributed to Secret, Luna, and Atom stakers from November 7th to December 13th of 2021. The first part of the airdrop happened in February of 22. That was just like a simple claim. Users were able to claim 20% of their airdrop. Then I believe in August, we launched the second part of the airdrop with the launch of bonds, and users were able to claim 10% of their Shade airdrop there. And then now with the launch of staking in June of 2023, we're unlocking the final 70% of the airdrop. And we've seen really, really good engagement with the airdrop and staking. And we'll kind of go into that a little bit with our milestones here in just a minute. But I also wanted to highlight one other really important piece of the puzzle that happened this month. We launched the Alter migration support. This happened in tandem with the launching of Alter pools on ShadeSwap. And so any Alter token holders that were previously either holding, maybe staking on SecretSwap, or providing liquidity on SienaSwap or SecretSwap, now you can migrate those Alter tokens to the latest SNP 25 version and provide liquidity against or with Stake Secret, the native liquid staking derivative for SCRT that Shade Protocol built. So that's another really big milestone. One, it's big because we're helping another protocol be able to improve the privacy, basically like the privacy posturing of their token. And really, the only thing we're doing is we're providing an interface for individuals to actually do this. So it's great to be able to help out, another OG secret network protocol, Alter. For anyone that's interested, definitely suggest you guys go check out their Twitter, check out their website, application. But kind of moving away from product launches, the next big thing that we want to highlight that's happened within the Shade Protocol ecosystem has been what seems like a stream of constant UI UX improvements that's coming out of the front end team. And I want to pass this off to Austin to kind of highlight some of the major UI UX improvements that we've made over the past month and kind of why they're important to the overall puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a very, very busy last month on the front end side. Besides just all the work that went into preparing for the launch of staking and building out that UI, there's been a lot of other activities happening behind the scenes. The first one I want to highlight, which users might not even realize, but we did a major refactor on the front end infrastructure when it comes to how transactions are being signed and how contracts are being queried. And the main benefits to that is it's going to unlock uh, a lot more cross-chain functionality, a lot of support of more wallets than just Kepler. So we're really excited about that. It also enables things like multi-message executions. So one of the things that we rolled out, I think it's been about 3 or 4 weeks now, was a single click for providing liquidity on ShadeSwap. So previously you had to do one transaction to approve each token that you're providing liquidity with. And then one additional transaction to actually have those tokens go into to the LP contract. So with multi-message executes, we're able to combine all those messages into one single transaction so that you only have to click one Kepler pop-up to approve those tokens and provide the liquidity. And that's really one of the first use cases of multi-message executes, and we have a lot more plans in the works for things that we're going to be able to do with that. So I'm really excited about what multi-message is going to be unlocking. We've also done a lot more work behind the scenes when it comes to error handling and improving the way that users are interacting with the app to ensure that they're not getting errors, or if they are, it's properly handled and they know what happened and how they're able to fix it, as well as a lot of other bug fixes and just miscellaneous things like that have been going on. And then lastly, as far as new features, something that we just launched today at the time of this recording, so this is Thursday, June 29th, we launched the transaction decryptor, which is a really nice feature to allow users to be able to put in a transaction hash and be able to see all of their private data that you normally wouldn't be able to see on a Block Explorer. So that's really nice, as well as some other permit management tooling to help people that are having any issues with making those private queries with permits. So that's a really exciting feature, and I think the transaction decryptor is really the first piece to kind of a future state that I envision, where we'll have transaction history for your SNP20 interactions with all various contracts, as well as any other thing that you might need to see on a Block Explorer. Our goal with the Shade application is to make it a one-stop shop for everything you need to do in DeFi. You should never have to leave the application to do anything else. So I think that transaction history and being able to look back at what you have done is a really important piece of the puzzle. So yeah, that's my update from the front end. Lots of work's been going on.
Yeah, and to add to what you were saying there, Austin, about the improved error handling, the query permit management tool, I think it is worth pointing out that anyone, like most individuals who run into any issues on Shade protocol or really any secret network applications right now, like the majority of the issues that people are having are not, it's not with the actual applications, it's with the wallets that people are using. So it's going to be one, like Austin said, getting support for multiple wallets for the Shade applications is like super critical, but also some of the tooling and error handling that we just implemented is going to make it even easier for us as a team building applications, and for our users using these applications to actually troubleshoot what's going on with their wallet as well. So it's like huge quality of life improvement for both sides of the aisle. So I appreciate that update, Austin. Last thing I want to touch on real quick, as far as ecosystem highlights this past month, are some recent milestones that we achieved. So just kind of looking back, this is kind of projecting back a little more than 2 months or so, but correct me if I'm wrong, Carter, but we've seen approximately like 45 or 46 million in volume on ShadeSwap over the past 2.5 months. we've seen approximately 7.5 million. It's like 7.25, 7.5 million or so silk borrowed. Currently, the outstanding circulating supply is somewhere around 2.8 million. But we've seen upwards of close to 7.5 million silk borrowed cumulatively. And we've also seen Stake Secret, which is the liquid staking derivative for SCRT, which is the gas token for Secret Network. We've seen the Stake Secret supply approach just under 5 million. We're like a few thousand, right under 5 million Stake Secret supply, which is really awesome because that's over, 2 times increase in the past 2 months. So it's really good. Like, obviously, with the launch of Shade Swap, Shade Land over the past 2 months, now we've got the airdrop and staking. We've been very engaged with wanting to make sure people understand how to use these newer applications. But it's incredibly encouraging to see the growth of some of our existing applications. And Stake Secret was the first product that Shade Protocol actually put into the market. So it's great to see that traction and continued adoption continue on throughout the process. So next thing I want to kind of shift towards for the focus of this Dev Roundtable is kind of looking forward, looking at upcoming development items. And so there are a few big ones that we've talked about recently. We've kind of teased some of them, given some looks at early mock-ups. But two of the biggest things that we're going to be really pushing for on our upcoming development roadmap is mobile support and also multi-wallet support, and more specifically, working on MetaMask functionality. So Austin, if you want to take a minute and just highlight, kind of the process has been getting to the point where we're ready to support mobile, and then kind of the impact of having that mobile functionality, and then also this multi-wallet support too, because those are two huge things right there.
Yeah. Well, the mobile journey, it's been a long one. I know people have been waiting quite a long time. One of the downsides of building an application so large with so many primitives is that it's really challenging to put in all the functionality that we needed to in a very fast, quick shipping speed. But one of the things that kind of slipped was the mobile support, and I'm really happy that we're finally near the finish line on mobile support. There's been a lot of great work from our design team, and over the last few weeks, we've made a ton of progress with our V1 of mobile support. It's not going to have the entire application, but it will be able to support shades or swapping specifically, staking derivatives, wrapping. I believe it's going to have bridging. Pretty much every screen that doesn't have one of those large tables, wide tables, those become very challenging to support when it comes to mobile, because they need a pretty large overhaul to be able to be displayed on a mobile screen. So there's probably going to be 4 or 5 pages that'll be supported out of the gates. And then I think both like Fino Wallet and Kepler Mobile and should be able to actually make transactions in our application on a mobile device, which is really exciting. And then on the MetaMask side, we're pushing really hard to be one of the first, if not the first, application to have full MetaMask support for signing all types of transactions. This is really a challenging problem because MetaMask signs things differently than Cosmos wallets. And the Secret Network core development team actually put a lot of work into MetaMask signing, and the blockchain at the protocol level already supports the hashing algorithm that MetaMask uses to create signatures. So then beyond the protocol supporting it, it then comes down to the app teams or the contract developers to also support that type of signing in a similar way. So I personally have already made successful transactions in local development. I can query balances, we can bridge tokens in. Everything works except for one piece of the puzzle, which is making not balance queries, but queries of private data using viewing permits. So things like bonds, lend, airdrop, things of that nature requires a permit, which is a special data structure that has to be signed. And actually, MetaMask can technically do this, but it's using like an extremely sketchy method where you have to go into their special settings and enable some stuff. And they give you like 4 different pop-ups warning you that you're probably getting your funds stolen if you're doing this. Actually, wasn't going to be an option for a use to actually use something like that. But there is a different type of signing that MetaMask does support that we can work with. It's just going to come down to our ability to modify our query smart contracts, our query authentication smart contracts to be able to handle it. So I'm pretty confident that we should be able to get that rolling in the next few weeks, but we'll see how it goes.
Sweet. Really appreciate that overview. I can't help but just like grin through that whole your whole description. Like it just I'm already excited, and it just makes me even more excited when you talk about it. So if anyone's watching this and just wondering what the hell is this dude smiling about, Austin's making me bullish over here. So two other big items on our upcoming development roadmap. One of them, just very briefly touch on, is D-Shade, which is going to be the staking derivative for Shade. Really just want to point out that the contracts for D-Shade are in like really, really solid place. And so we're going to be working on prioritizing that here in the near future. Don't have any dates to give about expected launch, but it's in a really good spot, and that is definitely on our priority list for upcoming development roadmap items. And then one of the last big development or one of the last big upcoming items on our roadmap is the implementation of real yield and the integration of all the different protocol levers into the Meta engine. And so for this, I'll hand it over to Carter. If you want to touch on that, and then we can kind of go into some of the ongoing discussions that are related to that particular thing.
For sure. Real yield is this really important turning point for Shade Protocol. We've built DeFi primitive after DeFi primitive after DeFi primitive, and there's been this question at large of what's the value of Shade, right? And real yield is really this opportunity for people to partake eventually in governance, but also to reap the rewards and the fees that are accrued from all the usage on the platform. So as the platform scales, so does the value of Shade. And the reason that's important is because staking for Shade Protocol protects the treasury, the shared decentralized treasury that's being used, right? So there's actually economic security. Like that's kind of one of the beautiful self-fulfilling prophecies of the Meta engine is as there's more economic usage, Shade becomes more valuable. As Shade becomes more valuable, it becomes more expensive to attack the protocol governance. The first one, which is kind of tertiary to having the fee streams point back to staking, is the reorganization of the Shade swap pools. So we now have 77 days worth of Shade swap data in terms of volume, and we sifted through this data, and what we've found out is there's a couple of pools that we've emitted too much shade at in relation to volume, and there also has been a lot of liquidity fracturing. So based off of really good, strong community feedback, we're going to be getting rid of all Shade pools except the Silk Shade pool. And then we're also going to be like drastically shifting emissions to be more biased towards the Silk Shade pool. The net benefit of this is it's going to make it a lot easier to acquire Shade and buy Shade. And overall, it makes Shade a much more valuable token because it has deep liquidity with Silk, and Silk is routed with everything else. Shade becomes a more utility there. So you can look forward to the Silk Shade pool Instead of being, I think, probably the 15th to 16th largest pool, you can expect it to be a top 5 pool after the big shifts in emissions. And then for the stable swap, derivative swap, and silk to volatile asset category, there's going to be some reweightages to shift emissions towards the pools that are producing more fees. It's of resources, and so I'd encourage you to go to the Shade Protocol forums, read the whole forum post, read about the volume, read about the shift in emissions to the different categories. This is really a result of community feedback. I think we made some initial mistakes. You want to experiment, you want to try new things, but I really view the reorganization of Shade Swap pools as this turning point in Shade Protocol's history, where we're taking a data-driven approach, we're taking the community's feedback, and now we're going to be distinctly shifting Shade Swap pools, architectures, and where emissions go. So that's the first big change. That's coming up. I think the first set of changes should be going live this upcoming Monday or Tuesday, so you can stay tuned for that. The second big lever that we're going to be looking to activate is a shift from essentially more of Shade Swap fees going back to the staking pool. So the way this would work is some percentage of Shade Swap fees, right now it's 4% of all fees go to the DAO, but somewhere between 50 to 100% of fees would get converted into Shade buybacks. And then this Shade gets sent to the staking reward pool. And Shade Swap right now, annualized, is expected to do $300,000 worth of fees, and that's in the bottom of a brutal bear market, right? So just picture, every dollar worth of Shade pressure, and that gets pulled out of the open market, sent to the staking pool is real yield, as in those stakes that are receiving Shade wasn't just emitted at a staking pool. Like, that's every single one of those Shade have been accounted for. It's not newly printed Shade, it's Shade that's already existed, purchased from the open market and given back. So we create this virtuous cycle for liquidity providers where they're earning a token that represents a huge percentage of fees, the DEX, and the game theory really changes where liquidity providers are going to want emissions to be properly allocated, because now I'm not only earning fees from my pool, I'm earning fees from everyone's pools. So we're all collectively highly incentivized to make sure that Shade Swap is as optimized as humanly possible. It's really democratizing the liquidity provider role. And over the long haul, I think it would maybe shift away from this purely democratic liquidity provider approach to be more focused on the individual liquidity providers. But I think we're at a unique time in Shade Protocol history where the vast majority of liquidity providers that are here because they believe in not only the potential of Shade Swap, but the potential of Silk, the potential of a money market, a potential of the lending product and the staking derivative. And that's kind of the beauty of the meta engine, is every person that holds Shade from the fees of not only the specific DApp they care about or are supporting, but all the other ones that have not even launched yet. So we continue to make this virtuous ecosystem where, as builders, we're incentivized to build really quality products. Users are incentivized to hold it or to use it, and Shade stakers ultimately benefit from it, and it creates that economic security I was talking about earlier. So Shade Swap fees being modified, having that buyback pressure begin to help create this kind of momentum in terms of Shade. Other fees are also staked secret. We're probably going to be looking to modify the withdrawal fee. Stake Secret has the lowest kind of fee in all of the Cosmos by a vast margin, and we want to try to keep it that way. But what we're going to essentially do is the minting fee is 0.2%. We're just going to have the withdraw fee match the minting fee. The reason I actually don't think this is a huge deal is Stake Secret withdraws the majority of the time are done by arbitrage players, not normal folks. Most normal folks, when they want to be done with Stake Secret, will go to Shade Swap and sell Stake Secret to exit the position. And then it's actually the arbors that are coming in and buying the Stake Secret that was just sold, and they're the ones that are actually withdrawing and experiencing the 21-day unbonding period. So most normal users won't even feel the new fee. There might be small shifts in the curve because of the change in the withdrawal fee and how that impacts time value of money in terms of the discount premium and whatnot. But very, very subtle changes on that front, but that will bring parity to the fee structure on Stake Secret and provide additional revenue to the Shade DAO. Another fee we're going to be looking to be adding in is on the USDT and the USDC vault. We'll be looking to apply a 1% interest fee. And once again, you can look forward to forum posts on every one of these subtopics, as well as with dates for when this would go live. We're going to try to give at least a 2 to 3 week heads up for all of these, give people plenty of time to exit positions or give feedback if they disagree with the approach. But we will be adding interest fees to the stablecoin, the centralized stablecoin vault. There's really one reason why it's acceptable and one reason why I think it's like long-term beneficial. The reason it's beneficial is right now we have 0% interest fees on all of the vaults. And if you have a volatile asset, when you mint out Silk, you're already taking on a lot of volatility because you're using a volatile asset, something like ST Atom or something like ST Osmo, right? But USDC and USDT do not have that volatility. They're incredibly stable assets, barring a black swan. And so to charge a fee on those vaults is kind of acknowledging that they're incredibly safe vaults. And so it's fair to kind of charge a small price for people taking advantage of essentially a borderline no risk leverage maneuver on their stablecoins. The second reason I think it's really powerful beyond another revenue stream to the protocol is we're also somewhat discouraging centralized stablecoins in terms of the backing for Silk. So over the long haul with touch and go is the strategy to have 0% centralized stablecoin backing for Silk by year 5 of Silk's existence, right? So actually by adding this interest fee over time, we'll slowly be setting the precedent over the course of the 5 years where we increase the interest rates until actually like the goal would eventually be to wind down centralized vaults probably entirely, right? Because we want Silk to be a truly decentralized, uncorrelated from a real world centralized entity. So that's the USDT and USDC vaults. There's also bounded minting, which is a mechanism by which we can safely, within a bounded context, help restore Silk from its above peg situation. There's already been one forum post that SBeam/Christian put up about it, and I'm going to be following up with some additional modeling, essentially showing why this is an incredibly safe maneuver. It's not without any risk, but a relatively small and very quantifiable risk in terms of the cost, and mostly has to do with Silk's appreciation in relation to the dollar and how that gap is accounted for with bounded minting. And this would be hugely helpful for bringing Silk back to target peg and actually drastically improving the utility of Silk and the DEX overall experience will dramatically improve and lend when Silk is actually at peg as opposed to over peg, because there's kind of risk locked up in the uncertainty of Silk being above peg versus at peg. So you can look forward to more information about that. I consider that as part of this real yield maneuver. It also helps generate additional fees for the protocol as well because of that deeper liquidity, and it's technically protocol owned liquidity, which is interesting. And I think that's, unless I'm missing something, I think that's a pretty broad coverage of most of the changes.
Yep, that definitely covers most of the changes, and I'm just going to highlight for anyone that wants to partake in these discussions, which we highly encourage. We'd love to hear feedback on all of these proposals. If you want to check this out, visit forum.shadeprotocol.io. And the proposals that Carter was just highlighting are the two most recent proposals. One is titled Shade Swap Pool Restructuring, and then the other is Momentum Major Shifting of Protocol Levers and Pools. So highly suggest you guys go give those a read and then also provide feedback. Before we wrap this up, Jeremy or Daltz, do you guys have anything that you wanted to add from like a look back on this past month, and then also looking forward into this next month? If not, it's totally fine.
No, I think the only thing I would say is like staking's finally here. It's very cool to see how much supply is currently locked up. I think it's over 40%. So that's quite amazing, especially since staking's only been out for 48 hours, just over 48 hours or so. But yeah, I don't have much else to add. I'm excited. I think there's a lot of very cool things that are about to happen, and I think it's all going to be very positive for the protocol as a whole. And so I hope everyone's excited as well. And I would just again encourage everyone to participate as much as you can, as much as you are able to, whether that's on the forum, whether that's in Telegram, whether that's on Discord. We're always happy to hear you guys' voices. We're always happy to see you guys in chats. Yeah, just participate as much as you can. You don't have to participate the day of. You can come back on the weekend and leave comments as well. It's no problem. But that would probably be my encouragement. Yeah.
Agreed with everything. Just excited that we got stuff launched. So that was great.
And then there's also Jackson on the call here, he's helping lead off a lot of the real yield mechanisms being properly in place, that's one announcement I think we didn't have, which is for people to keep their eyes peeled for the WBTC vault coming sometime soon. I don't know if this week or next week or the following week, but that's going to be launched, which is very excited to get that out there as well. Which I think is Red muted, or is that just me?
He might be muted.
He's muted.
Yep. Oh, the excitement though, it was there.
That's all right. I can take it, Red. Unfortunately I can't hear you. But I think the last thing that we'll say is thank you guys for watching. And because staking just launched, because the airdrop was just unlocked, go ahead and claim your airdrop. You can visit app.shadeprotocol.io. On the left-hand menu, select airdrop, walk through the process. That also helps you walk through the staking process as well. And staking is right next to the left-hand menu, so you'll be able to find it as well. And as always, be active in the chats, make your voice heard, join the discussions wherever they're being had, whether that's in forum fashion, whether that's on Discord, whether that's on Telegram, and let everyone know about private DeFi. It's important. It's something that we're really passionate about. So thank you guys for watching. Yeah, thank you guys for joining. Carter, Red, Jeremy, Austin, Jackson, thank you guys for jumping on. And as always, what we like to say is that there's plenty of room in the shade.